Tell me about Teddy Roosevelt as a third-party candidate.
Okay, well, Teddy Roosevelt was born as a New Yorker, born in New York City in 1859. His father was a wealthy businessman in the Roosevelt family. There were two branches to the family. The other branch is where Franklin Roosevelt came from. And he's also a philanthropist. He's interested in helping the poor. He's a big contributor to causes for the poor. His mother, interestingly, is a Southern belle from the plantation aristocracy from Roswell, Georgia. There's a big plantation called Bullock Hall. That's where she was born, and that's where they were married. She supposedly is the model for Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. She always wore white, was her thing. Martha, her name was. Now, back in those days, upper class people did not get into politics. It was considered kind of dirty and disreputable. But Teddy Roosevelt develops an interest in the political system. He becomes a state legislature in New York State. He goes to Washington. He becomes Assistant Secretary of the Navy. During the Spanish-American War in 1898, he organizes a regiment, and he becomes a national hero for his charge up San Juan Hill. He comes back, and he's approached by Boss Platt of New York State to run for governor. They figure they got a hot candidate here. But of course, they want him to toe the line. These people are in bed with big corporations, and they want Teddy Roosevelt to do what they want. He lets them think he is going to do what they want because he wants the nomination. He's politically ambitious. But once he gets in office, he does what he wants, which is infuriating the corporate powers in New York State, and they threaten to cut off contributions to the politicians. So Platt wants to get rid of Teddy Roosevelt. So he approaches, so the election of 1900 is around the corner. And he approaches McKinley, who's running on the Republican ticket, and wants him to take Teddy Roosevelt on the ticket, take him off his hands. Now McKinley is wary, but he realizes that there's a progressive movement that's coming up, and many Republicans are progressives. He's more of a conservative, but he feels with Teddy Roosevelt on the ticket as a progressive that it would give good balance to the ticket. So he accepts Roosevelt onto the ticket, and then in 1901, at a exposition in Buffalo, McKinley is shot, and Teddy Roosevelt becomes president of the United States. Now he finishes up the first term, the McKinley term we'll call it, and he decides to run on his own in 1904, and he makes the promise that he will not run again. He'll just be a two-term president. And this was in keeping with the tradition set by George Washington. For a president, no president up till then had run for more than 2 terms. So almost immediately when he makes that commitment, he's kind of sorry. But he finishes out his term in 1908, and he handpicks William Howard Taft to be his successor. But he and Taft are different personalities. Taft is a conservative, Roosevelt's a progressive. Their temperaments are different. Taft really didn't want to be president, but his wife pushed him. He would rather be a judge. He goes on to the Supreme Court later. Teddy Roosevelt loves, the political life, loves leadership and the bully pulpit, all that. So Roosevelt and Taft have a falling out during Taft's presidency. Roosevelt's off in Africa, big game hunting. And people are writing to him, you got to come back. The Republican Party is coming apart at the seams. Taft is doing things you won't like. He's backtracking on the environment. Teddy Roosevelt was a big environmentalist. So Teddy Roosevelt comes back. He decides to run against Taft in the primaries, but the primaries then are not binding in 1912. And so Taft gets the nomination in 1912, and people approach Teddy Roosevelt about running on a third-party ticket. And he says, I'll do it, but if you can raise money. So 2 big money men come along. He raises several $1 million, and he kicks off his campaign by using the expression, "my hat is in the ring." That was coined by Teddy Roosevelt. And he runs as a bull moose progressive. Now, he gets a higher percent of the vote than any other third-party candidate. He gets close to 28% of the vote. Taft is 22%. And because of the split in the Republican Party, Woodrow Wilson becomes president with 43% of the vote. So one of the ironies of Roosevelt is that one of the things he objects to about Taft, he can't hold the party together. But at the same time, by Roosevelt running, he splits the party. Wilson wins the election, and that's it for Roosevelt. He dies in 1919, but he's considered one of the, if you look at polls that historians take about great presidents, he's up there, he's in the top 5. So he was a great president during his first 2 terms in office. And I think he runs in 1912 mainly for ego reasons. He can't stand to be out of the limelight. Let me make another point about third parties. One of the things we find about third parties is that during the 19th century, ideas tend to animate third parties. Then they go out and they get candidates. What happens in the 20th century, probably because of the growth of the media, because of radio, television, the ease of transportation, personalities become dominant. You think of third-party candidates, you think of Nader, you think of Wallace, you think of Perot, you think of Teddy Roosevelt. These are all dynamic individuals. And third parties arise in the 20th century because of these individuals. And then the issues are part of it, but they don't dominate.